Hello, everyone, and welcome to Beyond Mount Rushmore, the history you never knew you needed. I'm Jeff Hickcox, and across from me, if you see the pictures, you'd see why I say across from me.
That's good, because I'm across from you.
Yes, our self-proclaimed presidential historian, Stan Nawalaniec.
Hi, everybody. How are you?
I'm good. I'm great. Had a great week.
I am going to make this point. I think I'm a little late in mentioning it, but do you know that we've been doing this podcast for now over a year?
I did not know that.
Yeah, 1 year. We started in April of last year.
Oh, wow.
So it's been over a year. So happy 1 year anniversary.
Yeah, happy anniversary.
And I don't think there's any possible way we can run out of stuff.
No.
This just keeps going and going.
It just keeps getting better.
And giving.
Yes. The presidents that just keep giving.
That's right. What are we talking about today?
That is your job?
Yes, it
For
is.
a year now, it's been your job.
We're going to talk about the father of our country, George Washington. Oh, here we go. Oh, you're going to talk about George Washington again? We all know about Martha. We all know about his affairs. We all know that he did this, did that. No, that's all for other podcasts that we've done.
I don't think you know this one.
This one is a little different because it's something that should have been but never happened.
Mm-hmm.
And most people don't know about it.
Correct.
Just to set the record straight so I can set a timeline, our first president of the United States, he was president from 1789 to 1797.
Mm-hmm.
Also a commander of the Continental Army.
Mm-hmm.
Washington led Patriot forces to victory in the American Revolutionary War against the British.
Go us.
The District of Columbia is named after him. Washington, D.C.
There you go.
Everything in the District of Columbia has some tie to Washington. Washington Monument.
Right.
George Washington University.
Correct.
The Washington National Cathedral. Washington Circle. The Washington Channel. That's a little channel going across the Potomac River.
Oh, I didn't know that.
It's
one.
all Washington. Washington.
Marsha.
Yeah, kind of like that. This was to be the city where people from around the world could learn, understand, and view the final resting place of our country's founding father.
Yes.
Such is not the case.
Mm-mm.
Now, Washington led a full life. I mean, he did a lot of stuff and was a very active man who also had bad dental problems. They say when he became president, he only had one good tooth left.
Yeah.
And it was a good anchor tooth.
You know, I don't think they were wooden either, the fake
No,
ones.
they were
That
not
actually
wooden.
Was, we went over that in the
Yeah,
previous
that's a wives'
episode.
tale. That's
Yeah.
not. He used ivory. He used whalebone.
Yeah.
He used his own teeth.
Yes.
He used other people's teeth.
Yes,
and they were
cadaver teeth.
extremely uncomfortable for him. That's why he looks a little funny.
Yeah.
He was losing his teeth.
Yeah.
We have talked about in the past, as a matter of fact, that's how we started this podcast, about how doctors screwed up Garfield.
Yes.
He would have lived. Same thing for Washington.
Really?
When he got sick, he probably could have survived.
Well, it was 1799, right? So there wasn't much going on there as far as medical is concerned.
He died unexpectedly from what was thought to be, at first, a simple cold.
Really?
Yeah, caught a cold, got a little sore throat. Remember, sore throat now, if you get strep throat or something, penicillin. Boom.
Yeah, you're done.
You didn't have penicillin then. Washington fell ill on Thursday, December 12th, 1799, after spending several hours on horseback in freezing rain and snow. He was checking out his Mount Vernon. He was checking out all of his stuff.
Right on the fields.
He arrived home late for dinner, and here's where it got him. He was a stickler for punctuality. So he came home for dinner, and he was wet and miserable and cold. And, sir, would you like to go and refresh? No, it is dinner time. I will sit in my cold, damp clothing and enjoy dinner.
That's a bad move.
Didn't change his garments. Now, by the next morning, Friday, December 13th, Washington had developed a severe sore throat. Does he learn anything from this? No. Despite his worsening condition, he went out into the snow again. He figured, let's go back outside and finish what we started. His job that day was to mark trees on his plantation for removal.
Okay.
We're removing this.
Yeah.
Again, he was doing his work.
Yeah.
And he didn't have a hell of a lot of a chance to do his work because he was doing the nation's work for so long.
He desperately wanted to get back there to do this kind of work. He just wanted to live there.
He loved it.
Yeah.
By that evening, his voice had become hoarse, but he remained optimistic. That night, he famously stated, I never take anything for a cold. It'll go as it came.
Yeah.
It didn't.
It did not.
In the early morning hours of Saturday, December 14th, Washington awoke with significant difficulty breathing. His throat was swelling. That's when the doctors came in.
Oh, boy.
Bear with me before we get into the meat of the story as I tell you what doctors did to poor George Washington, where you will find out as I finish this story, he begs for death.
Really?
Please, doctors, don't do that to me anymore. Let me die.
Wow.
Yeah. Here we go. And I got the doctors' names, and I've got them all.
Oh, we're telling names here.
Here we go. The doctors were brought in. First, there was Dr. James Graylick. Second was Dr. Gustavus Richard Brown. And thirdly was Alicia Cullen Dick, Dr. Dick.
Was that Alicia? Is that a girl?
No,
a
that's a
woman
guy.
Doctor? Oh, okay.
Alicia Cullen Dick. We will call him Dr. Dick.
Yes, we will in this instance.
They began by saying, "Hello, George." And then it went downhill from there.
Yeah, that was the best part of it.
Over the course of about 12 hours, they performed the following on George Washington, who had a cold and sore throat. Massive bloodletting. They removed roughly 80 ounces of blood, representing about 40% of his total blood volume. Wow. For a 67-year-old man already fighting an infection, this caused profound shock to his body.
Man.
Yeah.
This is take more than half of his blood.
Yeah.
That'll make him better.
Blistering. They applied Spanish fly, which is a toxic preparation of the dried bodies of Spanish fly beetles. They put this to his throat to create painful blisters, believing this would draw out the humors carrying the infection.
What?
Then he was fed emetics and laxatives. He was given calomel, which is mercury chloride,
Oh, let's poison him.
antimony, potassium tartrate, used to induce vomiting and bowel movements.
Oh, my God.
It dehydrated the hell out of him.
So he's got no blood. He's got no water in his system.
Nope. He's vomited it all up. He's pooped it out, and there's nothing left.
Jeez.
He was so dehydrated. The loss of nearly half of his blood volume made it impossible for his body to fight the infection or maintain his blood pressure.
Let me just say one more thing. This is based on a cold.
Yes, sore throat. He probably had like a little strep throat, little infection. Now, again, in those days, it was bad because there was no antibiotics.
Right.
If you could suffer through that, your body was strong enough, and from every report, he at 67 was in great shape.
Very fit. Yeah.
He could have fought back from that.
If he had enough blood in his system to do so, yeah, maybe.
Dr. Dick proposed a tracheotomy to help him breathe because his throat was swelling up. Cut an air hole. It was a new procedure, by the way. The other physicians were not familiar with this thing you call a tracheotomy. Do you know how when you see somebody that can't breathe or there's something and they have to perform a tracheotomy on them? You know, they even tell you how the ambulance people can go and take a big pen and stick it in a hole so he can breathe.
Yeah.
Well, Dick.
Doctor
Dick.
That's Dr. Dick to you.
Wanted to do that, but the other two doctors, what is this thing?
Yeah.
So that was thrown out the window. No, let him suffocate. I'm not, you can't make this up. Washington, again, the two other doctors, they disapproved of this procedure. Washington instructed Dr. Brown and Dr. Dick to leave the room. He went to Dr. Kralik after the other two left the room and said, "Doctor, I die hard, but I am not afraid to go." Ultimately, Washington likely died from a combination of his airway closing and the extreme physiological stress caused by his treatment.
Wow.
That's what killed him.
So if they would have just not blistered, bled, and pooped and vomited him to death, a simple tracheotomy may have saved him.
Yeah. Yeah, until the infection went away. And the swelling went down. Anybody hear about an ice pack?
Jeez. It's really hard to say the word doctor after you hear that story.
And I'm glad you brought that up because I have to reemphasize that in 1799, these doctors were using the best knowledge they had. They were thought to be the best doctors. They were butchers.
They were.
By today's standards, however, the treatment that Washington received was a recipe, by today's doctors looking at it, a recipe for heart failure and shock.
Jeez.
That, you know, what are you doing? Washington's final words were reportedly, "'Tis well," though he had spent his final hours pleading with the doctors to let him die in peace.
Wow.
That is so disturbing.
It's terrible for the father of our country to have to die that way.
Oh, but he's getting the care he needs.
Yeah.
You and I talked about this before we started the podcast. Washington was afraid to be entombed.
Mm-hmm. Right. His greatest fear was to be buried alive.
And I think that was for a lot of people at the time.
It was. In the 1800s, that was or the 18th century, excuse me, that was a very common fear.
Washington instructed his private secretary, Tobias Lear was his name, to wait 3 days before they bury him.
Yep, 3 days.
Make sure I don't wake up.
I want the same thing, by the way. This is on the record.
Okay, sure. According to Lear himself, Washington died between 10 p.m. and 11 p.m. on December 14th, 1799, with Martha seated at the foot of his bed.
Almost made it to the turn of the century.
Almost. Washington stated clearly in his will he wished to be buried at his beloved plantation, Mount Vernon.
Yep.
That's where I want to be buried.
Yes.
Nobody else wanted that.
No.
No one intended to honor his wishes.
No, they didn't. They really didn't.
His burial at Mount Vernon was said to be, at the time, temporary.
Yep.
This is a temporary holding place because we have other ideas for him.
We've got bigger plans.
Listen to what we said at the beginning of this podcast. The District of Columbia was named for George Washington, and everything in it is named for George Washington.
Yes.
The U.S. Capitol was being built at this time. And damn it, Washington's body will be in the United States Capitol in Washington, D.C.
The center of our government, the center of our country.
That's right. In fact, construction officially began on September 18th, 1793, when Washington was still alive.
Yeah.
and he himself laid the cornerstone for the U.S. Capitol. That is where he will be buried, damn it, regardless of what he wishes.
Right.
The architect, William Thornton. He included in his original blueprints a tomb area, 2 stories directly below the rotunda.
Okay.
The vision was quite grand at the time. A central glass floor in the rotunda would allow the public to look down into the crypt and see the tomb of the first president.
So you could walk into the Capitol, look
Right,
down,
yeah.
piece of glass, and then there he is.
Down below, 2 stories.
His tomb is there.
Is the crypt.
Crypt.
And that's what it was. It was not to be buried. He was put in his little tomb, his little crypt, and it would be sitting on a platform, and you could look down at him.
And see his coffin.
Yep. Here is now the Director of Homeland Security, Mark Wayne Mullen. He took a little group on a tour of where Washington's tomb should be. First, he walked into the rotunda. And if you've ever been to the Capitol, you walk through the front doors of the Capitol and you're in the rotunda. Big, giant. You look up, there's the dome.
Yeah.
And the beautiful marble floor. He took a camera crew in there to describe what you see in there in 2026.
All right.
And how you know where Washington's tomb is supposed to be.
Right here is where George Washington was supposed to be buried. And this is also the center of Washington, D.C. Since Washington, D.C. is a territory, it can't expand, so this is the exact center. This was a glass floor, which it was supposed to be, where the casket would actually be laid.
Now he goes downstairs. He goes down multiple flights of stairs.
Okay.
Goes up one little mini flight of stairs, walks down this empty corridor to an opening, and that is where Washington's tomb was supposed to be.
If George Washington wasn't at Mount Vernon, and we were able to look down on his body, which would be extremely creepy, this is where the casket would be laid. Now, used to, that was glass. They covered it now. But if you could go in here, which this is locked now, but used to, you could actually go in there, you could look up and you can see where the rocks are actually formed together. There's no structure other than the rocks themselves holding themselves together on the floor. Because, as I said, originally it was designed to be a glass floor. So.
Yeah. Now, I just want to point this out. It's 2026.
Yeah.
It's still there.
That's crazy.
After Washington died in 1799, Congress passed a resolution to have his remains moved there once the building was finished.
Okay.
Martha gave her consent for the move. Okay.
She did.
You can move. Initially,
Oh.
yes, you can move him there. But the tomb remained empty for decades due to the construction delays of the Capitol building and political squabbles over the design and cost.
It took so long to build that thing.
Years and years and years. Finally, the idea was scrapped, and scrapped for good because of 2 main reasons.
What's that?
In 1830, a disgruntled former employee tried to steal George Washington's skull
Yeah.
from the original family vault at Mount Vernon. This prompted his descendants to build a more secure, permanent new tomb at Mount Vernon, what you see today if you go visit Mount Vernon.
Right.
And because cooler heads in the Washington family prevailed, they finally said to Washington, D.C., he's not going there. The family finally said no.
He's staying here where he wants to be buried.
Correct. When Congress made a final push to move Washington's body to the Capitol for the 100th birthday celebration in 1832, his nephew, John Augustine Washington II, refused. You're not getting him.
Yeah.
He insisted on honoring his uncle's written wish to remain at his beloved Mount Vernon.
Good.
You took too damn long. You think you want to do this, all the pomp and circumstances for his 100th birthday. Let's move him and put him in. No, it's not. He's staying at Mount Vernon.
Yeah. And public sentiment started to change as well. The public didn't think it was appropriate to move his body.
Not at that point in time.
Yeah, right.
But what about that tomb at the Capitol building?
So who is buried there?
Did they fill it in?
Yeah.
Did they? Is there anything buried there?
Is there?
No.
Nothing. Well, he said the door was locked, so I thought maybe something was in there.
The chamber itself, as you heard the director say, the chamber itself still exists. It's beneath the Capitol crypt, which is the star, which was going to be the glass viewing.
Right.
If you take the tour today of the U.S. Capitol, you can see the circular space where George Washington was meant to rest. For years after that tomb was built, it was used to store the Lincoln catafalque.
Really?
Which is what his body was placed on when he was in the Capitol. What the hell are we going to do with this? Let's just move. Oh, we got space in Washington's tomb. Right. Let's leave it in there. And that's where it stayed. It's a wooden platform. It was later used for the Kennedy time that he stayed in state at the Capitol, and other dignitaries have used it since.
Oh, okay. I was going to say, was it just the two because they were
no, because other presidents now. I think Reagan might have used it for other presidents, but I think from the time Lincoln to Kennedy, it hadn't been used.
Okay,
the Lincoln catafalque has now been moved to the visitor center, so you can see it and
that makes
stare at it.
Yeah.
As of today, Washington's tomb remains a solemn yet empty monument to honor the first president of the United States. So you can go down and take a look at it. You can go and see.
Yeah.
And from the moment he passed away, there were big plans to keep the president, our first president, at the Capitol.
Yeah.
But you know what? But thank goodness.
Thank goodness that
it didn't happen.
I know. Thank goodness.
There you go.
Great story.
Thank you.
That idea actually was influenced by European traditions.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, they would entomb national figures with government or religious structures.
Well, I know if you go to like St. Paul's in London, or you go over to the Vatican. I mean, in the Vatican, there's popes all through there.
Correct.
You go to the St. Paul's, there's bishops all buried in there.
Yeah. The thing that struck me was, my own personal thoughts is that, if that's what they did in Europe, we came here to get away from them. Why would we follow that tradition? It was odd to me.
Well,
I'm glad that we didn't ultimately.
Well, I guess there are some places in this country where the bishops and priests and all of that are buried in places like that. But for the father of our country, I'm glad it's not.
Correct. Not our leader, not the first leader.
Right. Anything else?
No, I think that was it. That was a great story.
Yeah, thank you.
A lot of the stuff I was going to talk about, we covered during the story, actually.
Like what?
Like the fact that he was afraid to be buried alive.
That's so interesting. That was a big thing.
Yeah.
A lot of tombs had bells on the outside in case they could ring so they could be dug up and all that stuff.
And then Congress debating for decades about moving the body.
Yeah.
And
what a joke.
Yeah. Great story, though. Really was good.
Thank you. 2 weeks from now.
Yeah. Dos semanas in Spanish, by the way.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
The president who was elected to nothing. You're going to have You're going to have to put your thinking cap on, or you can wait 2 weeks.
Yeah.
The president who was elected to nothing.
Correct. Now that question is going to be on our Facebook page.
Yes.
The day that this episode premieres.
Yep.
We're going to have it up there for one day. If you answer it correctly, you're going to be into a drawing for a Beyond Mount Rushmore t-shirt.
Sounds good to me.
Yeah.
This is like the second time we've given away a shirt.
Correct.
Because we have our previous winner from Calvin Coolidge.
That's right. This has been Beyond Mount Rushmore.
I had to think about that.
I'm Jeff Hickcox and Stan Nawalaniec, our self-proclaimed presidential historian.
And we'll see you in 2 weeks.
Ciao.